the leader, Gaddafi, had been murdered or lynched, shipping these weapons and people from Libya to Turkey, and there, obviously, they were going to Syria. These were the so-called moderate rebels, and basically they were Al-Qaeda. All of them weren't Al-Qaeda, but Al-Qaeda was the most ruthless and violent element of the rebels, and they gradually took over. In fact, they fought other rebel groups until they could pretty much control the anti-Syrian government revolution, or rebellion, whatever you want to call it, civil war. Really, it was an invasion. If some country were funding rebels in Texas to shoot anyone they found, especially police officers, U.S. Military people, anyone in authority, and shoot people of one religion or another, say all Catholics, because you find them, you kill them. Okay, some major country were funding those people in Texas, we would just go ballistic. But that's what we were doing. That's what Hillary Clinton's State Department, our CIA, and our military were doing since 2011 in Syria. We have been aggressors in Syria. And we've been trying to overthrow their government. Antibar seems to be obsessed with that idea. And it's part of the neoconservative ideology. You've got to prove that the United States is dominant. What we say goes. Neoconservatives hate Russians. They have some kind of anti-Russian bigotry. Anyway, the neoconservatives are now in full control of our government. The White House, with all of Trump's generals, the Congress, and I can prove how completely dominated Congress is by the neoconservative ideology. You know, I could get into that, but I don't want to go on too long. The media, the whole Russiagate thing is designed to raise hostility among the American people against Russia and allow us to take aggressive actions all over the world. And so basically our whole system is geared toward hostility with Russia, overthrowing the government of Syria, and then the final thing I'll talk about is North Korea situation, because that is extremely tense right now. The history of that is actually right after World War II, again, about the time the CIA was being founded, the NSA. The United States backed, the country was divided, North and South Korea. Soviet Union was influential in North Korea. United States was basically occupying South Korea. And so in 1950, the Korean War started. It became, instead of just kind of civil unrest, it became a war. The United States pretty much devastated, especially North Korea, but really the entire country. Dropped more bombs than all of the bombs dropped in Europe during World War II. So we devastated the country between 1950 and 1953. That war was never formally ended. Technically, it's an armistice. It's a ceasefire. So technically, North Korea is still at war with South Korea and the United States. That's the context, and their leadership has felt over the years that they needed to develop a deterrent against another attack by the United States. And because nuclear weapons exist, they decided, well, at some point that we need to get some nuclear weapons. And we need to get missiles that can deliver them. From their perspective, if they could get missiles, ICBMs, that could deliver nuclear weapons, onto the United States, that would be their goal. Not in order to attack us, because everyone knows if they were to do that, the whole country would be wiped out. The North would be wiped out. What they're doing is the same logic that all of the nuclear weapon states, India and Pakistan, for example, they develop nuclear weapons to prevent anyone else from attacking them, or invading them, or conquering them. And so while I don't like the government of North Korea, I don't like the idea that in 5, 10, 15 years they will probably have missiles and nuclear weapons that can reach anywhere in the United States, probably, if they keep working on it, and they don't invest in anything else, pretty much, they're a very poor country, but if they focus all their energy on developing those weapons, they'll eventually get them. And so that will be one more nuclear weapon state. But what it's for is to deter an invasion. So we have President Trump going to the UN and threatening a country of 25 million people, North Korea, with total annihilation if they don't shape up and do what he says. It hasn't worked for 65 years. That approach of threatening them, imposing economic sanctions against North Korea, all of that has failed since the early 1950s.